My name is Cathy. I attend Caerwent Church, and this is my story. My story actually begins at the age of 4 with the sudden death of my mother. And shortly afterwards, my father abandoned both my brother and myself. We spent 2 years in turmoil, being passed back and forth from people that we didn't know while we were waiting for formal adoption. And then my grandmother thankfully stepped in and said we could go and live with her. She gave us all the love and stability that we needed, but we were never encouraged to talk about what had happened to us. And so I learned to bury all those emotions. As a teenager, I began to get into all sorts of trouble, and then a friend invited me along to her church. I responded to an altar call to become a Christian, and I felt I was good to go. A few years later, I got married, and within a month of the wedding, my grandmother died. I couldn't process her death. I didn't know how. And so I just buried the pain and carried on as if nothing had happened. I had a family, and for years we went to church, but it was all very much a head knowledge. I knew about God. I knew that Jesus had died for me, but there was no heart change. And I always felt that God was very distant, and that if I didn't go to church, if I didn't try to be good, that somehow he would be angry with me. The children grew up and got to an age where they didn't want to attend anymore, and it wasn't long after that we stopped going as well. And so my life consisted of working hard, long hours in the week, and getting drunk on the weekends. And then in 2018, I was given a diagnosis of cancer, and that caused me to evaluate all those past wasted years. And it was around that time that my brother lost his wife. She died suddenly, and then he was told he had cancer. And I remember in the mix of all those emotions, crying out to God for help. We started back at church, but I was always searching for peace. I got involved with false teaching and mysticism, meditation, but nothing helped. And then my brother died, and that completely broke me. Losing him, the pain just brought back all the grief and the trauma of the past. And it just got too much to bear, and I began to spiral into depression. Time went on, and one day I just started reading the Bible for myself and started to pray. And over time, I felt the conviction that I wasn't right with God, and I wasn't even in the right church. It was a lively Pentecostal church, but for all sorts of reasons, I just knew it wasn't where I needed to be. Caerwent has been described to me as a spiritual haven, and that is just so true. I was a mess, but God began to heal all the pain. I was immediately welcomed and accepted, and I just began to realize that God is my peace. And for all those who have lost loved ones, we know there is no easy fix. And some days are really hard to bear, but God is the only one who truly knows how you're feeling. And I have since lost someone else close to me, but this time the grief has been easier to bear because I've been able to cling to Christ Jesus for my comfort. So this sad story does have a happy ending, because as I look back over my life, I can see that it's God that's brought me to where I am now. I have a lot to learn and unlearn, but I am experiencing his love, his forgiveness, and his peace. I know he's in control of the past, the present, and the future. And now I live every day to please him, not out of fear, but out of a thankful heart. So you might be thinking that you'd like to come along to Caerwent, and I would say, please come and meet the God who changes lives. We look forward to hopefully seeing you soon, and thank you for listening.